Hi, welcome to the Social Space, the show all about Wichita Falls, Texas, and the whole wide world. This is TV Eric here. My lower third. You can't see that yet, Aaron. It'll be laid there later. To my left, gosh, jet setting from Fort Worth to Oklahoma City, back to Windthorst, Jackie Hoegger.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm on a little high right now.
Yeah, we won all those Addies.
We won some Addies.
We're going to talk about that in the next week's show, because we're going to have a little video prepared to show everybody. We'll be more prepared to talk about it. We just got done with that.
I agree, and I think the subject today warrants to happen this weekend.
That's right, and stick around to the very end today. We have a video to show you about the foundation. We're at FFA. We're about to get to that. To your left, Megan January, data scientist, here to replace Andrew. He's not here today. I have something ready, though, in case we make a joke.
Good.
I just got it ready.
I thought we were going to miss that, because that's not what I have.
That would probably take 30% of the viewers, and they'd go, "Where's Andrew?"
I know. That's why I brought that in.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for being here, Megan. And to my left, here representing FFA, the foundation, Aaron Alejandro. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm great.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Real quick before we get to you, we've got our sponsors we've got to thank. That's News Channel 6. We air there at 10:35 every Sunday night, where we're #1 locally, Aaron. No big deal. Got to check on that. That was last year. I think we're way #1 now locally in that
Well,
time
there's
slot.
a big, let's find out if we are.
We got to find out before I brag on it.
#1 or way #1.
I mean, because we were beating Big Bang Theory, we were beating MASH, all those. Our NewsTalk 1290, that's our audio partners. You can hear us on NewsTalk 1290, Townsquare Media. That is Saturdays at 10 a.m. And of course, Impact Sign and Falls Truck Center. Tanya and Sean Choate over there just killing it. Okay, Aaron, you're here for the foundation. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection as a student to FFA.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. So I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. Yeah. Number one, I come from Dallas, Texas, and I actually grew up in a broken home. So my mom and dad, they divorced when I was 6. My father passed away when I was 10. Started running with the wrong crowd, and my mother needed to do something to kind of get me straightened up. So in September of 1980, she put me on a plane. I flew from Dallas to Amarillo. They drove me 36 miles into the country to a place called Cal Farley's Boys Ranch. At Boys Ranch, they introduced me to my dorm parent. His name is Mr. Chandler. And for those of you who watch that know Westerns, Mr. Chandler made Festus look like a city slicker.
Okay.
So, he's very country. And there was 24 of us that lived in a dorm, and Mr. Chandler did not believe that anybody should have anything but an ag job. So Mr. Chandler put me in ag science education in the FFA. I never signed up for it. Mr. Chandler put me in it. I look a lot different today. I'm shorter, fatter, have a lot less hair. But back when I went to Boys Ranch, I was about 4'2". I had long, bushy hair. And they cut all that off and set me on a path, hopefully to straighten me out.
Wow.
Part of that path was to be put in the FFA. And sophomore year, I went to a leadership workshop, and a state officer by the name of Danny Hunter. Some of your viewers may recognize that name, Danny Hunter. Danny Hunter is the Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Texas. But Danny, I'll never forget, I was that kid that sat in the back of the room, and he said, "Aaron," he goes, "what are you going to do with your life?" I hadn't really thought about it. He said, "If you wait too long, it'll be too late." I went back to Boys Ranch that year. I ran for office my senior year. I asked him about scholarships. I graduated with a 14 on my ACT and $25 in my checking account.
Wow.
And because of the FFA, I went to Texas Tech on 5 scholarships. I actually finished my education here at Midwestern State University. That's how I came to Wichita Falls in 1988 when I was working for a member of Congress who also grew up at Boys Ranch, who was also involved in the FFA. He was state president in 1968. I was state president in 1985.
Wow.
So kind of a neat story of how I got to Wichita Falls.
Went in there as a ne'er-do-well and came out as a...
Yeah. So now my family's here, and I'd be amiss if I didn't recognize my new granddaughter, Hattie J. And my grandson, Liam, and my sons, my Chandler, and William, he's a soccer player, and Abigail and Kagan, and my wife, Rebecca, who is a music person. So it's kind of like the ag guy and the band girl.
Oh, that's awesome.
So when this show airs, we will have just kicked off National FFA Week. Mm-hmm. So there's a reason we have you on the show today.
Gotcha.
So can you tell us briefly, there's 2 things I want to know. How did FFA change your life? And give me the symbolism of that blue jacket.
Yeah, so I think the thing that within ag science education and the FFA, and I think that's a unique point that needs to be made. A lot of people think of FFA and they think of 4-H, and I tell people they're both great youth organizations.
Yes,
they really are.
they are.
But there is one distinct difference. FFA is part of public education by public law. So unlike 4-H that's a club, FFA is actually part of what you learn in the classroom. The way I explain it to people is it's like going to lecture and lab. So if you went to college, you go to lecture in the morning, you go to lab in the afternoon. In ag science education, you go to ag science education. Then through the FFA, you practice your leadership. Through your supervised agricultural experience, you practice a hands-on opportunity. Now, to answer your question, what separates and what makes what we do very unique? And that answer is real easy for me. Growing up at Boys Ranch, I'll never forget Mr. Chandler. There was a blizzard blowing in on the Texas Panhandle. And Mr. Chandler came to me with a sledgehammer and asked me to drive 5 miles to the other side of the ranch and bust the water trough for the horses during the blizzard. I said, Mr. Chandler, it's cold. The wind, it feels like a razor through the skin. And I'll never forget what Mr. Chandler said in his old country wisdom. He said, darling, do you get thirsty when it's cold? I said, yes, sir. He said, don't you think those horses get thirsty too? When you ask the question, what makes our kids unique and makes our program unique, in the world of agriculture, if we don't do our job, something dies. So when you can take a kid and you can give them that responsibility of an animal or a crop or a science project, you give them something that they will carry with them into their careers. It'll be a core value that they'll carry for the rest of their lives. And I think that's what makes what we do in ag science and FFA very unique. It's the soft skills. It's the yes sir and no sir and yes ma'am and no ma'am. It's the respect, the 3 R's, as I like to say. A lot of times people, matter of fact, it was right outside of Wichita Falls. I was in a coffee shop and these guys were cussing and discussing what's wrong with this country.
Cussing and discussing.
I'll tell you what's wrong with this country, Alejandro. They said, we got to get back to the basics. I said, well, tell me about the basics. The 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, at the time, I was working here in Wichita Falls in a boot camp with truant offenders and in the prison. I looked at these guys. I said, listen, everybody that I work with can read, write, and do math at some functional level.
Yeah.
I said, but you're absolutely right about the 3 R's. But it's not reading, writing, and arithmetic. I believe it's respect, responsibility, and resiliency. And I believe that through ag science education and that hands-on FFA application, we teach kids to respect themselves and their fellow man, to be responsible for themselves, what's in their care, their communities, and to be resilient, to learn to get up when you've been knocked down. Not everybody's going to win a trophy, and I know that might make some people unhappy, but it's no different than Hoegger Communications. You're going to have a show about competing for awards. You got to compete. You got to have a competitive edge, Jackie, and I think when you ask that question,
She does.
FFA, I believe FFA gives kids in Texas a competitive edge.
I agree.
In an organization that's 94 years old and has an incredible professional network.
Golly, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
We are already way over for this
Yeah.
segment, guys. We got to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more specifically about the foundation, and even more specifically about a video that Hoegger has made for Aaron and the foundation, who he is one of the main characters in.
Yes.
And we'll talk about all of that when we come back after this break.
Four incredible radio stations. That's who we are. We are Townsquare Media, and we bring the best of radio to the North Texas area. Wake up early with NewsTalk 1290. That's us. How about Kelly Raspberry on 92.9 NIN? Yep, that's us. Bringing you the best of country with 102.3 The Bull. That's us. And rocking it all day long with 106.3 The Buzz. That's us. We are Townsquare Media, and we're proud to be a sponsor of the Social Space.
You'll find the strength at the end of the fight. Just hold on, keep that flame.
All right, welcome back to the Social Space. This is the show this week all about FFA and the foundation, kicking off FFA week. Jackie over there, Megan stepping in for Andrew, and to my left still is Aaron Alejandro. Aaron, this segment we're going to talk a little bit about the foundation. So what is the foundation and why did y'all create that?
Well, the Texas Ffa Foundation came about mainly because of a gift of an oil and gas man named C.J. Red Davidson, who just happened to be walking down the street in Fort Worth. He saw these boys going in the convention center before girls were in the FFA. He was so taken that he made a gift, and that seed has become an incredible oak that a lot of young people are finding shade under.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, we know that with the foundation, there's a bunch of investors. So can you tell us about the sponsors and why they invest?
Yeah, so I've been asked that question many, many times over the last 22 years, and my answer is always the same. I absolutely love my job. Why? Well, number one, I work with some incredible kids, great kids, some incredible educators. I met teachers that, unlike their teaching peers, think about an ag science teacher for a second. I really want y'all to think about it for a second. Really math doesn't change. History, unless it's contemporary, really doesn't change. So I'm not taking anything away from teaching those things, but think about agricultural science.
Yeah.
Internationally, domestically, science, species, disease, best practices, and our ag teachers have to be on top of all of that, in addition to supervising kids' projects, in addition to going to competitions in the spring, the fall, and conventions in the summer. We have incredible teachers. I get to work with those folks too. But lastly, the sponsors. The people that provide the fuel to make dreams come true. I tell people all the time, at the end of every dollar, there's an opportunity for a kid. And as somebody who, like I said, grew up in the circumstances that I grew up in, to think that somebody gave me an FFA jacket and that I zipped that jacket up and you didn't know any of that. I looked just like everybody else. But that jacket gave me a competitive edge. It also gave me an opportunity to get scholarships. But all of that would not have been possible had it not been for people that thought ahead and said, to make this state better, to make this country better, we've got to invest in young people. And I'm very proud of the success we've had over the last 22 years. We've set records and we've done things that are benchmarks in the history of FFA, not just Texas, but in the history of FFA. Our sponsors, they provide the fuel to make dreams come true.
And with that being said, you invited us to convention this summer, and I was looking forward to it, and I drove down there, but I had no idea what I was walking into. And my goal was to go for about an hour, and I ended up staying about 7 hours because it was unbelievable. I've just never seen an arena so full of Blue Jackets and students that were yes ma'am and no ma'am, and just the energy in the room. And then I rotated over to your area, which were all those foundations behind the scene working, which leads me to, you came to us and said, I want you to create a video about the foundation. How did it come about? Why do we have it? What does it do for these students? Oh my gosh, Aaron, what a joy and a privilege it was to tell that story. I don't even know what to say, but why the documentary now?
Yeah, and I don't know that I can answer the question, why now? I can answer it this way. When you're proud of something, you want to share it. And when you think about all that our teachers have done, our students have done, and our sponsors have done, why not share it? Why not tell people how did it happen? I mean, the success of Hoegger Communications, you didn't just fall into that seed.
No.
Somebody's worked hard to get to where you're at. We've worked really hard to get to the Texas Ffa Foundation to where it's at. So it's not only successful here, but we're a mentor to other states, that we're doing things that has a larger reach that has nothing to do with us. We're not going to benefit from that, but our country is. our food supply is, our leadership for this country is. So I thought the time was right that, we need to share what it is that the Texas FFA, there's a lot of teachers out there that don't know. There's a lot of students that don't know. We don't know what the foundation, we don't know. I get a kick out of the kids. You were in our ambassador room.
Yes.
I get a kick out of the kids that meet the CEOs of all these companies that we work with. And we're talking blue chip companies, Berkshire Hathaway companies. And they always come back and they said, Mr. Alejandro, I just thought they wrote checks. I didn't know that they really, really care. And I said, that's the quality of good people. And that's who we've brought together. And we want to tell that story. Because there's probably more folks out there that are watching that, the problem is if you're over the age of 35, there was no foundation back in our day. So if I sat and started talking to somebody 35, 40, there was no foundation. So they have no reference point. So when they hear how big ag science education is today, the fact that there's over 222,000 students enrolled in ag science in the state of Texas, that membership is over 155,000. Almost 1,100 chapters, 2,500 teachers. It blows them away.
Yeah, but can you say this one data for me? 1 in 6 members are from?
1 in 6 members in the United States, in the FFA organization, 1 in 6 members reside right here in the state of Texas. Put that in perspective. A lot of people think it's all rural. I get a kick out of that. If you ever hear anybody in this community or anywhere else say anything about ag science and FFAs for rural only,
No.
They are sorely mistaken. Go check out Harris County, the 4th largest city. I spoke in New York 2 years ago, New York City. You know how many FFA chapters are in New York City? The city that consumes more food than any other city in America, 1 ag science program. Oh, wow. Harris County, Houston, Texas, the 4th largest city in America. We got more members, teachers, and chapters in Harris County than 25% of the United States combined.
Wow.
It's not rural.
No.
Well, that leads us to this great documentary.
Yes, it does.
I'm so excited, I just can't.
Yeah.
So I hope the viewers watching take it in and realize the unbelievable, wonderful task we got to do, and just absorb it and take it in and help us celebrate National FFA Week.
Yeah. That's and we're going to premiere this. It's going to be premiered live right here after the break. Aaron, thank you so much for being here, and you are, of course, one of the main features of the video we're about to see. So thank you for joining us, Megan, Jackie.
Thank you.
Andrew, appreciate you being here. You guys come back right after the break. We're going to watch this video.
Summer always seems like it'll last forever. Until it doesn't. Yeah, I guess it's that time of year again. Don't be caught off guard. Get ahead of the problem. Let James Lane make sure your unit's ready for 90 one day and 30 the next. Be ready for anything and everything with James Lane Air Conditioning.
The 2022 Chevy Silverado Custom is hard to keep in stock. The 4 Stars Auto Ranch has more on the way. If you come in today, you can get your name on the list, and a well-qualified buyer through GM Financial can get 0% financing. Stake your claim and find new roads with a free initial diagnostic check from 4 Stars Auto Ranch. Make the switch like I did. Drive off in your brand new Chevy Silverado from 4 Stars Auto Ranch in Henrietta, Texas.
Experience commitment here at 4 Stars Auto.
(1969). Nixon was president. The Beatles record their final album together, and the words, "One giant leap for mankind," become a part of our history forever. It was also in 1969 that by chance, a Fort Worth oilman walked into the Tarrant County Convention Center. The man was C.J. Red Davidson, and the event was the 41st Texas FFA Convention. Oh, and that's where our story starts. Wait, we need a better song here.
He was just inspired by what he was seeing. They were poised, articulate, and he thought, these are some good kids.
So, CJ opened his checkbook and planted the financial seed that would grow for years to come.
FFA provides role models for young people, and those role models are ag teachers and the FFA officers.
By now you might be wondering, what is FFA? What does it stand for? Why do I care? Well, there's a good answer for all of that.
Agriculture affects everybody. We all have to eat. We all have to be clothed. We are all a part of agriculture.
And who better to carry on the tradition, innovation, and evolution of agriculture than, you guessed it, the future farmers of America.
Let me ask you a question. You know how FFA began?
In 1925, 4 agricultural education teachers established an organization for young farm boys that also would teach citizenship and leadership skills.
FFA was founded in 1928, and it prepares students for over 300 careers in agriculture. Basically, they take classroom learning and apply it to the real world, building future leaders of our world.
Little did they know the concept would evolve into one of the finest youth organizations in the world and establish the future farmers of America.
The year is 1987. Reagan's in office, the Simpsons are on TV, and the FFA leadership recognized that for this thing to continue to grow, they needed a long-term financial plan to manage the C.J. Red Davidson endowments. And I guess that's really where our story starts. The role of the foundation was simple: to help grow Texas's greatest resource, its youth.
Texas FFA needs our support. Why? For the future of young men and women like these two guys.
With Jay Udy accepting the position as the first chairman, it was time to get to work.
Our focus really was to support the work of local chapters, because that's really where the magic happens.
Hard work is done year after year to help grow scholarship opportunities and other means of capital. It's the job of the FFA Foundation to protect the strength and future of the Texas FFA.
The foundation is one that works behind the scenes diligently to provide so many opportunities.
We've seen a lot of changes, a lot more scholarships available out there to the kids.
One of our real challenges that we had in FFA is, we didn't have a great big staff.
Fast forward to 2000, and Aaron Alejandro accepts a job as the executive director.
Well, when I came on board, one of the first things I did in this assessment that I was discussing was look at who our sponsors are. Who are our sponsors? So one of our largest sponsors at the time was Ford Motor Company.
One day, a group showed up and said, we want to encourage the Texas Ford dealers and Ford Motor Company to get involved with our capital campaign.
In the history of the FFA up until that point, this was going to be the largest corporate ask that was ever done.
So at that moment, he kind of raised up in his seat and began his sales pitch.
I remember delivering the proposal to Mitchell.
My initial response was,
they support at the national FFA level and wasn't sure that they were going to do anything at the state level. I just remember looking at Mitchell saying, we drove all the way from Austin, and something tells me if you'll just flip that proposal up to page 12, that you might find value here.
I listened, I reviewed it.
He closed the proposal, He kept it.
It made sense.
On stage of that convention that year, 2 hours before the foundation was to give a report, I received a phone call from Ford Motor Company. They had honored our request of $1.3 million, the first $1 million gift in the history of the FFA.
From here, the foundation didn't slow down. In 2005, they announced they hit their 3-year goal of $3.5 million after raising $4.2 million. In 2006, the foundation secured the FFA's first title co-sponsors for the state convention. And it wasn't just corporations who wanted to help out. In 2005, rancher Richard Walworth made Texas FFA history by becoming the foundation's all-time leading contributor with gifts totaling more than $1.5 million.
The strategy worked.
Many people probably don't know the impact of the FFA Foundation.
The FFA is creating the people through those events, but the foundation program is making sure that those people in future generations are going to be there.
They see all the kids in the blue and gold jacket, but they don't know what's behind the scene and why that's possible.
A lot happens.
We did some things that most people didn't think we could do. I'll give you an example of that.
The LEAD program for teachers, providing them another opportunity to advance themselves. What about the legislative lead and giving the insights into what goes on the Hill?
The foundation has found its way in dealing with sponsors better, dealing with teachers better.
Don't forget the Foundation Ambassador or Ford Leadership Scholars Program. Whether it's helping lead the state convention or giving back to their community, students are prepared for their future.
It's truly fascinating to see how big these students will think.
What the foundation does is basically keeps all of those parts moving.
Amongst many other things. But if there's one thing you should take away from what the FFA Foundation does, it's
the passion that is behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see. There's a reason why they've been so successful in raising money over the past 20 plus years. There's a reason why 1 in every 6 FFA members across the nation is right here in Texas.
Well, yeehaw, y'all. I couldn't have said it better myself.
If FFA was important in the beginning, and is still important today, don't you think it'll be just as important in the future?
I like to compare myself to a patchwork quilt. I know that's corny, but there are so many pieces of me that so many different people, contributed to that made me into the person that I am today.
All right, so today I have Alejandro on the line, and he's Executive Director of Texas FFA Foundation. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for the invite. This is awesome.
In terms of the Texas FFA, I don't think there's any other organization that promotes students the way they do and offers the opportunities.
I tell people all the time that whether we're talking about Texas, California, America, or the world, we have 3 vital and renewable resources: youth, agriculture, and leadership.
I found my belonging through the FFA, and I didn't have that before.
I've grown as a person, as an individual, as a friend, as a family member.
It's been my whole life. It's what I've done for 42 years now, and I love it.
Our mission at the Texas FFA Foundation combines all 3. We form not only well-rounded leaders today, but dynamic influencers tomorrow. We're going to have some brilliant minds, and I'm excited about the mission that we have because we get to empower those young people that will lead into the future. The essence of leadership is to plant trees under whose shade you may never sit. I'm proud of the work that we've done at the Texas FFA Foundation and with Texas Team Ag because we are planting trees. And I'm hopeful that the result of everything that we do is we make our communities, our state, and our country a better place to live, work, and raise our children.
The year is now, and the mission still the same. With over 155,000 members and 1,082 local chapters, we can't help but think, if CJ could see what the Texas FFA has become today, he would be pretty proud.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is our future. You've just heard people you know and trust tell you how FFA helped them. Now the question is, what's the future worth?